Welcome back. Let's get one thing straight. Women rarely ask the real question. They ask something else entirely and wait to see who you are underneath your answer. When she says, "How old are you really?" she's not looking for a number. She's looking for how comfortable you are with your story. When she says, "Why aren't you married?" it's not about paperwork. It's about whether your emotional door is locked or quietly open. These aren't questions. They're invitations to lead with calm, to answer without performing, to show her not just what you want, but who you are when you're not trying to be impressive. So in this video, we'll break down 8 of the most subtle but loaded questions women ask when they're interested, and how a Stoic man responds with presence, integrity, and emotional control. Number 1. Own your age, own your power. Why she's really asking how old are you? When she leans in across the table and smiles, asking, "How old are you really?" she's not running numbers. She's running a confidence check. That question isn't about chronology. It's about composure. It's about how well you carry the weight of your years without apology, without flinching, without trying to be younger than you are or older than you feel. Because here's the truth. Women aren't repelled by your age. They're repelled by your shame around it. Say you're 45, sitting at a wine bar with a woman who's clearly intrigued but unsure of your depth. If you respond nervously with qualifiers like "I know," "I'm getting old," or jokes that try to mask your discomfort, she doesn't just hear the number. She feels the insecurity. But if you smile calmly and say, "I'm 45, and honestly, these years taught me everything," you shift the entire energy. You stop being a man who's afraid of time and become one who's seasoned by it. Psychologically, this is powerful. According to Buss 1989, women subconsciously seek emotional safety. That means they're drawn to men who have made peace with themselves, men who aren't performing or compensating, owning your age, your story, your scars without bitterness or self-deprecation is a direct display of that kind of stability. And stability, especially when paired with curiosity and humor, is magnetic. She's not attracted to the number. She's attracted to the relationship you have with the number. This is why the most seductive answer to that question is something that blends honesty with grounded charm. Say, "I'm 55 and at peace with it. Took me long enough." Or, "Older than I look, younger than I feel. It's been a good ride." These aren't lines. They're evidence that you're not hiding from yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't stop time, but you can stop resisting it." That's what she's listening for. She wants to know if you're the man who embraces experience, who's lived enough to stop pretending, who doesn't need to convince her or anyone of his worth. That's where the real appeal is. Emotional maturity, self-acceptance, humor that doesn't hide pain but has grown from it. You become a man who walks into the room not as someone trying to reclaim lost youth, but as someone who understands that youth was never the goal. Depth was. Want to make that energy a habit? Start by journaling every day. One short entry about something you've learned that you couldn't have known 10 years ago. Not just the wins, the hard-earned stuff, the heartbreaks, the pivots, the lessons that broke your ego and built your character. Because when you own those, you don't need to hide your age. You become grateful for it. Pair that with Stoic presence. Breathe slower, move slower, speak with fewer words but more weight. When she's around you, she should feel like she just stepped into the calm eye of a storm. A man who's not chasing time, who's not afraid of getting older, who understands that youth fades but depth doesn't. So next time she smiles and asks, "How old are you really?" don't just tell her your age. Show her what it's taught you. That's how you make her stop thinking about numbers and start thinking about you. Number 2. Why aren't you married? The hidden question beneath her smile. It sounds like a simple, curious question, maybe even a playful jab. Why aren't you married? But don't be fooled. She's not looking for gossip. She's looking for your emotional temperature. What she's really asking is, are you emotionally available or just emotionally guarded with good manners? And how you answer sets the entire tone of what she'll feel with you next. Say she asks this over a lazy brunch, mid-laugh, her head tilted with genuine interest. If you tighten up, dodge the question, or mutter something like, "Marriage is a trap," you don't just close a door, you build a wall. Bitterness and cynicism reek of unresolved wounds. She doesn't hear "I'm independent," she hears "I'm still bleeding." Now flip the frame. Say you lean back, sip your coffee, smile, and answer, "Life had other plans, but I'm open to something real." Suddenly, you've done something radical. You've shared space, not just your past, but the fact that you're at peace with it. You didn't make it a resume, you made it a window. Psychologically, that matters. Emotional intelligence research Goldman, 1995, reveals that women aren't scanning for perfection, they're scanning for availability. Not the kind that shows up in dating apps, but the kind that shows up in how you talk about your history. Can you speak about love without resentment? Can you reflect without spiraling? That's what she's feeling for. Because let's be honest, a man who can say, "I've had connections, some good, some not quite right, but they taught me what I value," is not only secure, he's present. He's no longer carrying bags from terminals he doesn't intend to visit again. And that's rare. This is why journaling helps. Each night, reflect on one relationship, romantic or not, that taught you something worth remembering. Write it down, not to rewrite the past, but to release it. That way, when she asks about your path, your words come from clarity, not performance. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly. The pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it. In other words, your scars don't push people away. Your shame about them does. When you own your journey without dramatizing or deflecting, you show emotional maturity. That's what draws her in. So next time a woman leans in and asks, "Why aren't you married?" don't treat it like an interrogation. Treat it like an invitation, an opportunity to show her that you've lived, lost, learned, and are still open. Not desperate, not guarded, open. That's the kind of man who doesn't just attract attention, he earns trust. And in the world of real connection, that's what matters most. Number 3, do you date younger women? The real question behind her curiosity. It sounds innocent, even playful. Maybe she smiles when she asks it, cocking her head, waiting for your reaction. But that question, "Do you date younger women?" is rarely just about age. It's about possibility, about whether you're open to her without making her feel judged, objectified, or dismissed. Most guys hear that question and get too clever or too careful. They either make it a joke only if they swipe right, or they fumble with excuses trying to sound noble. But here's the thing, she's not looking for a performance. She's listening for alignment. Does your answer reflect confidence in your own values or insecurity in chasing approval? Because deep down, she's testing for emotional openness. She wants to see if you value connection over conformity. And when you answer with something like, "I'm drawn to vibe, not age," you're doing more than dodging a trap. You're making space for her to feel seen without being categorized. That's rare. From a psychological perspective, this is a subtle filter. Evolutionary psychology, Buss, 1989, suggests that women instinctively assess not just attraction but receptivity. Is he open to something real, or is he just running a script? Age becomes the pretext, but presence is the true test. This is why how you say it matters more than what you say. When you answer warmly and directly, without hesitation or over-explaining, you show her that you're not controlled by other people's opinions. You show that your mind is sovereign, and that's magnetic. And let's be honest, authentic chemistry isn't tied to a birth date. It's found in those moments when conversation flows, when your energy aligns, when she laughs a little too easily and you find yourself leaning in without thinking. That's what she wants to feel safe exploring. The best way to reinforce this mindset? Reflect each week on a moment you felt genuinely connected to someone, not because of what they looked like, but because of how they made you feel. Remind yourself that attraction is a lived experience, not a list of demographics. As Marcus Aurelius said, stay aligned with virtue. That means valuing what's real, not what's expected. Society will always have its rules about age, appearance, and status. But you're not dating society. You're connecting with her as a human, as a soul, as a presence. So the next time she looks at you, eyes sparkling, and asks, "Do you date younger women?" Smile. Pause. Say, "I care more about energy than numbers," and let your tone tell the story. Because it's not just about her age, it's about whether you have the courage to follow what feels real. And that's what makes her lean in. Number 4. What kind of woman do you usually go for? A test wrapped in curiosity. She asks it casually, maybe during a quiet moment between laughs, or while strolling together after dinner. But make no mistake, this isn't small talk. This is a mirror she's holding up, subtly asking, "Am I what you want, or am I just another woman in your life?" Most men stumble here. They default to physical traits, "I like brunettes," or "someone with a nice smile," as if they're picking from a catalog. Others try to impress by listing off vague traits like loyal or funny, but miss the mark by not saying anything felt. She's not asking for a checklist. She's listening for resonance. What she wants to hear without needing to say it is whether she could belong in your world without performing for it. Whether the things that make her quietly unique are actually the things that would matter to you. So when you say something like, "I'm drawn to thoughtful women who can sit in stillness," you bypass the surface and reach her emotional core. You're not describing a fantasy, you're revealing a filter, and in doing so, you invite her to lean in and see if she fits through it. According to Emotional Intelligence Research Goldman, 1995, women attune to emotional depth faster than most men realize. Responses that highlight internal traits, curiosity, stillness, empathy, create emotional safety. They communicate, "I see more than what's obvious." That's the real signal. That's the real test passed. And here's the paradox. The more deeply you answer from your center, the less you need her to respond a certain way. That freedom makes you even more attractive, because she's not just looking for praise, she's seeking a man who knows why he wants what he wants. That's rare. Practically, the next time she asks this question, pause, breathe, then answer with something grounded. Maybe, "I'm drawn to women who think deeply, who are okay with silence, who make me curious with how they see the world." Keep your tone calm and slow. Let it land. Then ask her back, "Why do you ask?" Now, you've created space. Now, it's not an interview, it's a shared exploration. You've passed the test by not trying to. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Be present in the moment." And presence doesn't just mean showing up, it means letting go of performance, of answers designed to impress, and simply letting truth be enough. She's not looking for a perfect man. She's looking for a man who's grounded in what he values and who doesn't need to sell himself for connection. So when she asks, "What kind of woman do you go for?" hear it for what it is, a chance to speak from your center, and maybe, just maybe, to let her see herself in that answer and feel safe enough to stay. Number 5. Are you always this charming? The hidden test of authenticity. She says it with a smile, maybe over the rim of her glass, or after you just made her laugh harder than she expected. It sounds like flattery, but don't be fooled. This isn't just a compliment, it's a probe. A moment where she peeks behind the curtain and silently wonders, is this who you really are, or just a well-rehearsed act? Because charm, if overplayed, turns into performance. And women, whether consciously or not, are wired to sniff out performance. They've seen it too often. The guy who dazzles everyone at the party but disappears when things get real. The smooth talker who melts resistance but vanishes the moment connection requires effort. Charm without roots is empty, and she knows it. So when she asks, "Are you always this charming?" what she's really asking is, "Can I trust this version of you? Is this who you are even when no one's watching?" The wrong move is to brag or deflect awkwardly. The right move is to meet her where the question came from, not just her words, but her curiosity. A warm, grounded response like, "Only with people who bring it out of me," lands not because it's clever, but because it's real. It signals presence. It makes her feel special, not because you're trying to impress her, but because she earned your authenticity. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian's research 1971 found that communication is far more nonverbal than most think. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Sincerity is in the pause before you speak, in the eye contact you hold, in the smile that's not trying too hard. And here's where the deeper psychology kicks in. Women don't just want to be charmed, they want to feel chosen. If your charm is a reflex you offer to everyone, it loses its edge. But if it feels like a tailored moment drawn out by her energy and presence, it becomes unforgettable. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts through the noise. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Be true to your nature." You don't need to perform, you don't need to manufacture charm. You just need to show up as you are, anchored in self-respect and emotional presence. That's why mindfulness matters. 5 minutes a day to reconnect with your inner state allows you to act, not react. It prevents you from falling into the trap of becoming the dancing monkey for approval. Because the moment you need her to like you, your charm becomes an act. But when you're centered, your charm becomes effortless. So the next time a woman looks at you and asks, "Are you always this charming?" don't try to pass the test, just be the answer. Let your grounded presence speak before your words do. Let your sincerity wrap itself around the silence. Because in that moment, what she feels will matter far more than what you say. And if she feels seen, not just entertained, she won't forget you. Not because of your charm, but because of the truth behind it. Number 6, why don't you have a girlfriend? The hidden test of readiness. She leans back, maybe half smiling, maybe genuinely curious, and throws out the question, "So, why don't you have a girlfriend?" It sounds simple. But it's never just a question. It's a window into your emotional world. What she's really asking isn't about your relationship status. She's testing your emotional openness. She wants to know, are you emotionally available? Are you jaded? Do you know what you're looking for, or are you still lost in the noise of your past? And this is where most men crumble. They over-explain. They joke about being too busy. Or worse, they subtly let bitterness slip in. Women just play games. That might feel like a shield, but to her, it's a giant red flag, because bitterness signals unfinished emotional business, and no woman wants to be someone's rebound therapist. Now picture this instead. You look her in the eye and say, calmly, "I've grown to know what I want." Then you pause. That silence, that's where the weight lands. You're not defensive. You're not performative. You're present. And that presence tells her everything. Daniel Goleman's research on emotional intelligence 1995 revealed a core truth. Openness is magnetic, not oversharing, not trauma dumping, but calm, honest clarity. Women aren't drawn to perfection, they're drawn to readiness. A man who has looked inward, done the work, and carries himself with a quiet willingness to connect. The reason your answer matters isn't because she's sizing up your dating history. It's because she's searching for safety. Safety in your emotional availability. Safety in your ability to hold intimacy without collapsing into insecurity or avoidance. And this is where Stoic practice becomes your superpower. When you journal nightly, not just about what happened, but how you felt, you begin to track your emotional arc. You notice your triggers, your patterns, your wins. You build self-awareness, and that turns into confidence, not the loud, chest-beating kind, but the kind that says, "I know who I am, and I'm open to something meaningful." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let go of what you cannot control." That includes your past. That includes the women who left, the chances you missed, the love that faded. When you carry that lightly, your presence becomes heavier in the best way. She can feel that you're not weighed down by resentment or regret. You're simply here, grounded and curious about what's next. So when she asks why you don't have a girlfriend, don't just answer reveal, not all of you, just enough to show that your heart isn't hiding behind a wall of excuses, that you're not waiting for someone to save you, but that you've made room for someone who fits. Because the truth is, the man who doesn't chase love but remains open to it is rare. And that rarity, that's what pulls her closer, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you meant it. Number 7. Would you ever date someone like me? The hidden invitation beneath her doubt. When she asks, "Would you ever date someone like me?" she's not fishing for a compliment. She's extending a delicate thread of vulnerability, hoping you won't pull too hard or let it fall. That question usually surfaces during a quiet, emotionally open moment. Maybe you've just shared something real. Maybe she's let her guard down for the first time in weeks. And now, in a voice that's more curious than confident, she drops the line. This isn't just flirtation, it's a test of your emotional intelligence. And more than that, it's a soft probe into your depth. Because beneath the words, what she's really asking is, do you see me? Do I matter to someone like you? Can I trust you with my self-doubt without being rejected or judged? Most men fail this test by turning it into a joke or giving a generic compliment. They try to lighten the moment. Of course I would, you're amazing, thinking it'll smooth over the awkwardness. But what she really craves in that moment is sincere stillness, presence, a calm, steady gaze, a simple response like, "I'd be lucky to," said without performance or flattery, lands like a warm coat on a cold night. According to David Buss's research in Evolutionary Psychology 1989, vulnerability is a high-risk strategy for women. It exposes them to rejection, which carries emotional and even reputational weight. So when she chooses to be vulnerable with you, she's testing your response not for charm, but for emotional steadiness. She wants to know if her openness will be met with safety or shallow ego. This is where Stoicism becomes your foundation. You don't react. You don't rush to reassure. You let her words hang in the air for a moment, showing her that silence doesn't scare you, that you're not uncomfortable with closeness or realness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be present with truth." In that moment, your truth matters more than any clever line. It's about eye contact, stillness, and tone. That's what makes you magnetic, not what you say, but how real you are when you say it. And if you say yes, mean it. Not in a way that tries to win her over, but in a way that affirms her humanity. She isn't just asking if she's attractive, she's asking if she's enough for someone who seems grounded, stable, rare. And when you answer with calm sincerity, you send a message most men never transmit. I see you and I don't need to fix, chase, or impress. I'm just here, and I mean what I say. So when she asks, "Would you ever date someone like me?" Pause, breathe, look her in the eye, let her feel your stillness, then say something real. Not because you're trying to win, but because you've already done the internal work to not need to. And that is what makes your presence unforgettable. Here's what most men miss. It's not about what you say. It's about how you hold yourself when you say it. Do you laugh nervously, overshare, try to justify your life? Or do you pause, own your story, and speak as if you're not afraid to be misunderstood? Because when a woman asks, "Would you date someone like me?" she's not testing your standards. She's revealing her vulnerability and seeing if you can hold it. When she says, "Are you always this charming?" she doesn't want more charm. She wants to know if it's real. A Stoic man doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't over-explain. He sees through the game and calmly leads with truth. So if this gave you the clarity you needed, subscribe now for more tools on how to attract without performing. And comment below, "I lead with presence, not performance." Because women don't fall for perfect words. They fall for the man who can sit in silence and still be unforgettable.